Our Across the Aisle segment tonight. During a recent rally in Pennsylvania, President Trump hit back at Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who has repeatedly been calling for the president's impeachment. Trump called Waters a low IQ individual, and now liberals are calling Trump a racist, which just shows you that Maxine Waters isn't the only one with a low IQ. Former Obama speechwriter Jon Favreau tweeted, and I quote here, "The president went to Pennsylvania, singled out a black congresswoman from California and called her stupid. That's not race baiting, that's racist." Really? How is it racist to call someone dumb for wanting to impeach the president for no credible reason? This is what the president said in his own words. Take a look.
We have to defeat Nancy Pelosi, and Maxine Waters, a very low IQ individual. You ever see her? You ever see her? We will impeach him. We will impeach the president. But he hasn't done anything wrong. It doesn't matter. We will impeach him. She's a low IQ individual. You can't help it.
With me now, history professor and author of Obama's America, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
All right, Ian, tell me, what does President Trump's comment about Maxine Waters' calls for impeachment, what does that have to do with race?
I'll just start by saying I liked Maxine Waters' response. She said, you know, if Mueller doesn't get the president, then Stormy Daniels will. I thought that was a pretty intelligent and witty response. Here's the thing. I don't think it's racist by definition to refer to an individual black person as, not highly intelligent. Donald Trump, however, didn't just say she wasn't highly intelligent. He called her very low IQ. Very low IQ. Now, there aren't a lot of people who are college graduates who serve in Congress who are very low IQ individuals. He also said on another occasion recently that she needed to take an IQ test. So it's sounds almost as if she might be, mentally, left behind a little bit. But again, it's not the remark in itself. It's Trump's history, right? Trump has a history
I knew you were going to pivot to that. I knew you were going to pivot to that, but that's not what people were saying.
Come on, give me.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
go
I'm
ahead.
talking about me. You asked me what I think. You asked me what I think. I can't speak for Jon Favreau or any other people. So Donald Trump has, just in his tweets, referred repeatedly to two other African Americans who are not unintelligent as dumb. Bryant Gumbel, who is a very accomplished media person, produces the Real Sports Show. He's a History of the Today Show. There's a gentleman named Toure, who is not only a pundit but an author of books. He repeatedly on Twitter referred to them as dumb. So he has a pattern of calling black people not wrong, but dumb. You notice he didn't.
Did he call them dumb because they're black, or did he call them dumb because he thought their comments and arguments were dumb? And like I said, if there was a racist comment made, you know this, Ian, I would stand next to you and call that out, regardless of whose party that individual is in. But I think it's very disrespectful. It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, when liberals constantly accuse the president of saying racist things when it's not racist. You can be offended that he called someone who you like dumb if you don't think that that person's dumb, but that has nothing to do with race. In fact, the people that brought up the race were the Democrats. They were the ones who were associating race with intelligence. It was never the president.
Well, first of all, one of the things that we see a lot is that when the typical pattern is that a Republican will either do or say something racist, the Democrat will say, "You're a racist," and then the Republican will say, "See, you're the one who brought up race." Okay, so you don't have to bring up race to say something racist. There is a historical, for lack of a better word, a trope or theme. It's not the most prominent theme in racism, but there is a theme in racism that African Americans are unintelligent. Now, if you or George W. Bush or a conservative who I respect, who has a history of never doing racist or saying racist things, said that a particular individual was unintelligent, I would never accuse that person of racism. But Trump, because of his history of race baiting and racism, I'm not going to give him that benefit of the doubt. This is a guy who said, "I don't want a black accountant," and this is a quote from a former hotel executive, "I don't want a black accountant handling my money. I don't like that idea." The quote was, "I think it's probably not his fault. I think the guy is lazy because laziness is a trait in blacks." Donald Trump is a racist, has a history of racism. So when he says something
Ian,
that fits the pattern of racism,
don't you think that what Maxine Waters does, she goes around to these rallies, she speaks at these events, don't you think the fact that all that she says is impeach 45, impeach 45, she doesn't have any reason that she wants to impeach him, meaning a credible reason, meaning a high crime or misdemeanor, don't you think that just using that as a slogan, impeach 45, don't you think that that's dumb?
No. I don't think it's the right thing to do politically, but I don't think it's necessarily a sign of a quote-unquote very low IQ.
Right, but you understand that when you make a comment like that, when you say, oh, a very low IQ individual, he's sort of referring to her pattern of very low IQ comments. I mean, you're reading race into it, you're reading race so far into it, but you won't read that far to actually understand what he means. Don't you think that that's adding to the divide in our nation?
Well, if Trump is going to say that somebody who does very low IQ things is very low IQ, then I'll say if somebody who says very racist things is a racist. Maybe they're not, but they're saying racist things.
But you even said at the beginning of the segment that you didn't think that this comment had anything to do with race, that this wasn't a racist comment in and of itself. That's what liberals are accusing him of. Like I said, I just think it's disrespectful. I think it adds to the divide in our nation. I think it makes people ignore actual racist comments, actual racist incidents, because we're so numb, we're so desensitized to hearing accusations of racism. This obviously wasn't racism.
I think what's dividing our country is having a president who uses racist rhetoric constantly. I think this was probably on the low end of the scale compared to some of the other things he said. Somebody who comes out after a neo-Nazi rally and says there were very fine people on both sides, who's playing to his white nationalist base, who talks about Mexican rapists. If that's a 10, this is probably a 3. So I'm not, I'm a little bit outraged to get too worked up about this particular comment. But no, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
I wish Democrats got half as outraged about the Democratic Party's association with Louis Farrakhan as they do about comments where they invent a racial element when it had nothing to do with the race of the individual and everything to do with the dumb comment that she made. Ian, I do appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here.